YouTube world? My name is Nicholas Montez, and welcome back to another YouTube channel video, everybody. Um, and I am your movie enthusiast, Nicholas Montez. And happy Halloween, everybody. I mean, at least for the people that are watching this on October 31st. I'm currently filming this on October 26th, and with Halloween now here, I thought we'd go ahead and talk about my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. From the thrilling stalkings of Michael Myers to the terrifying screams of Ghostface and to the nightmares of Freddy Krueger, these are my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time.
See Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Alright, so back in 2023, a film called Godzilla Minus One came out, and that movie was so good that it actually got me interested in wanting to watch the past Godzilla movies. And one of the original films from 1954 happened to be one of the great classics, and I absolutely love this movie. And much like the story and how they developed that movie with the humans and the Godzilla character, it's all kind of originates back to this film. So this movie has great terror, the score is incredible, and it's got a pretty good story with these humans, and it's just the first one that did it right, and possibly the only one of the two that did it right. So it is an absolute classic in my book. Alright, so much like Godzilla 1954, I also saw this movie last year, and honestly, this is just another horror classic. It kind of feels like my version of Jaws, if I actually did love Jaws. Now, I do like Jaws, though I am still warming up to it and trying to love it. This one, I instantly loved, and I think it's just because you have a creature, you have a shocking girl, and the creature is cool, the music is cool, and just everything about it just sets it up right for a great horror movie, so I honestly really liked it. Alright, so much like Godzilla and Creature from the Black Lagoon, King Kong was also another film I also saw last year, and I absolutely loved it. Much like, if you ever were to ask me which one do I like more, King Kong or Godzilla, I'm actually choosing King Kong. I'm a King Kong guy, and boy, let me just tell you, this movie is truly an experience. What I love about this movie is the fact that our characters are not in a real jungle. The entire thing is real because it's a whole, place set. Even King Kong is a play set. And it's so unbelievable that they were able to make a movie like this back in the 1930s. Now, as for the horror stuff, it is pretty scary to look at, and having this dinosaur King Kong battle happen in a claymation stuff. But I will say, I think the 2005 film does it way better. But as it turns out in 1933, I think it still does work. So as a film as a whole, it was pretty groundbreaking, and that's kind of why I love it. But still, overall, it is still a fantastic movie that I also think the remake is better, but still an amazing movie. So I actually watched this movie just this month, and I instantly fell in love with it. And what I absolutely loved about this movie is the fact that it's basically disguised as this chef movie, to where basically food is being the target of your sins. And I love the way that it kind of basically is a torture film for people that are wealthy, and the kind of payback that they get of how they treat the poor. But at the same time, it's also a great parallel to where, rich people, they go to these places because they want to say that they've been there, and that's interesting. but they're also making like these very impressive food. To whereas there is one person in the group that happens to not be one of those rich people, and she can actually degrade the food, and that's like an interesting premise for a movie. It's so mesmerizing. It's shocking at times. The score is pretty great. And every performance just works so well in the film. Ralph Fiennes as this chef is really good. So this was just a pretty great film that I, on a first time watch, absolutely loved it.
You have a date with Carrie.
Alright, so for me, Carrie was another film I saw just this month, and honestly, this was probably one of the biggest surprises of horror films that I saw this year. To where the idea is just so clever. The idea of taking the fear of high school and getting bullied, and having a mother not tell you that you have a period or what periods are is possibly one of the scariest things. And I'm not even a girl, and I felt what Carrie felt. But what else that I found so interesting is, while in the beginning Carrie is perceived as a weird girl, the best part about it is that we at least get to see her be somewhat normal. Sure, she can look weird or do weird things, but you actually get to see her in a sense of normal until the thing switches and she is betrayed by those bullies that didn't want to exercise just to not go to a dance. Like, it's insane. And that's what makes it so heartbreaking. And then the fact that, like, her mother is crazy too. And even just the whole cast is great. The score from Brian De Palma is great. It's crazy that the same guy that did Scarface a few years later is crazy. Even having John Travolta be his first movie, that's crazy. So, yeah, I love Carrie. So, yeah, this was a movie that I did go see this year, a 2025 movie. I don't care. This movie was awesome. I actually just finished rewatching it last night on HBO Max, and once again, the hype is still there. And what I absolutely love about it is, once again, I love those freaky movies, but also I like those stories where it's like, it's at this whole mystery, and you get all these different interpretations of all these different characters, and then you get the setup of how it happened and how did it happen, if that makes sense. Aunt Gladys is pretty freaky, and I love the way they developed her, of teasing her and then actually showing her as a threat. And I like that it was a genre blender, and then also the score I thought was absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, now rewatching this movie, I want to see the Aunt Gladys Project more than ever now. Like, I love weapons.
Yo, smell anything? I think I shot myself.
Alright, so yeah, this is another 2025 movie. I don't care. Kill me. This movie was also amazing. Possibly my favorite movie of 2025. I'm still debating whether I like Weapons or Sinners more. 5 and 4 can really switch any day of the week. But for me, Sinners was an absolute blast. I love the way Ryan Coogler just meshed a gangster movie, a musical blues movie, and a vampire movie all in one thing combined. And it meshes so well, while at the same time giving characters history and also having it take place in the 1930s that makes it historically accurate. And honestly, not only do I like the music in this film, and I like the vampire stuff and the horror stuff, but I also really appreciate what Ryan Coogler was able to do with the characters. And honestly, I think that's his best thing, is he's a great writer, and he knows how to write characters to make them, like, feel real. And it feels like they have so much history with one another. And honestly, I want like a Sinners prequel where we get to see all these characters just go back in time, and we get a further background of these characters in a further timeline, and we get to see the best gangster like epic movie like of all time. This would be an epic movie, but as for right now, I love the movie Sinners, and I think it's absolutely amazing.
Not scared, are you? Scream.
Alright, so Scream is a very interesting movie when it comes of all the films on this list. Because this is essentially a celebration of all of the horror movies that came before, with Friday the 13th and Halloween and Chucky and Freddy Krueger and all that stuff. And you gotta remember, I was not a big horror person back then. I didn't really watch the movies until I was in my teenage years. And so, this was technically one of the first big horror movies that I saw. I watched this during COVID in 2020. And I, of course, knew about Halloween, and I knew about the horror movie lore in these movies, but I never actually watched them until I watched this movie. And what was so fun about it, now that I've watched some of those films, what's so great about it is that I love that this is a celebration of horror movies, but it's also its own horror movie in its own sense, to where it has its own flavor, its own style, to where almost any other horror movie nowadays, like Thanksgiving, can be quotable as in, like, it's basically, like, the 21st century Scream. Like, that's the thing that it's gone, and it's definitely in a good sense, and I love it. And at the same time, it's funny, the kills are pretty memorable, and the direction is just solid, so I love Scream. Do you like scary movies? So yeah, this movie's iconic. So, I actually watched this movie back in 2021 when the second film came out, and I was just so bewildered of how good this movie was, where they took a simple premise of a family that has to be quiet, otherwise if they make a single loud sound, monsters are going to get them. And they handled this perfectly. It's crazy because two of the funniest people with John Krasinski and Jordan Peele were able to make some of the best horror movies of the last decade. Obviously, I'm not as big of a fan of Get Out, though I do still love it. A Quiet Place I thought John Krasinski handled A Quiet Place much better, to where both him and Emily Blunt are great performers in this movie. The performances are great. The little moments between the family are ecstatic. And I like the little moments of like how they operate when they can't really do much sound, so they have to walk on sand. They have to do all these incredible other things, and there's even these moments of magic. And lots of jump scares in the movie, lots of great thrills. There's even like the needle scene. It comes back later. The fact that Emily Blunt had to give birth during this scene and during a monster invasion. Like, this is insane. This is true horror.
That's the story of, that's the glory of love.
Alright, so yeah, we made it to my final favorite film of horror films. And for me, what worked so well about this film is I watched it back in 2018, and I was just I was just so amazed by how good this movie was. That you have this family that basically lost a baby during birth, and basically wants to try to adopt a new kid, but don't realize what they're going to be dealing with. And I love how dark it is. I love how dark, like, Esther can get. I like the different stuff between the mother and the father. It all has that crudeness, but at the same time, it's like it's all mean and nasty. It's kind of raunchy with some of the sex in it. It just works all around. But even the bigger twist of it was the fact that all this stuff that is happening, and you realize Esther's not a little girl. She's actually just a person like pretending to be a younger woman. And it's just so thrilling. There's some sequences in here that like kind of scare me, whether it's like the scene with her and the I guess the nun from the orphanage, or even the scene when the car goes backward. Overall, this movie is fantastic and possibly my favorite horror film of all time. So that is it. That is my top 10 favorite horror films of all time.